Strasbourg. Of course, the economic recovery is the most important, and President Zapatero has a very lively debate today in Strasbourg with the European Parliament. It was quite interesting to see that everybody agreed that Europeans have to move forward and really get out of this economic crisis. And for that, we need more Europe. We have to have a more economic unity and more ambition on the new strategy 2020. You also refer to the citizens and the equality between men and women, but I think that will deserve another debate. And well, the other two was to really implement in a soft landing, in a smooth manner, the implementation of Lisbon Treaty with the new institution, and of course, what is going to be the role of European Union in this global world. So I will try to concentrate on the last two because, well, I'm ready to answer any question about economic agenda and the ambition we have. But I think being in this think tank, what I think is still missing in European Union is a much more, I will say, ambitious and consolidated EU foreign policy. And you allow me to start with, and with all modesty, because I'm in a think tank with a lot of experienced men and people has been studying the European history, to have a flashback of how our founding fathers started this fantastic adventure of European integration. It was after two dramatic world wars, and Schuman, Monet, they decided to go step by step, trying to demonstrate and to consolidate and to reform the internal economic and social strength of European Union. And you look and you study what was the concern of this European community in the late 50s or beginning of 60s, well, this obsession of global actor was not part of the agenda. Well, it is true that there was an attempt to have this Communauté de Défense Européenne that our French MPs didn't approve in the Assemblée Nationale, but immediately the Europeans that were involved in the beginning of this integration process were much more concentrated in the economic affairs. In order to demonstrate whatever happened in the world, the important thing was to give answer, a main answer to their own citizens. So what kind of foreign policy was from the 60s, 70s, 80s to the Act Unique? Well, there was trade agreements, cooperation agreement with ACP, African, Caribbean, and Pacific, or some Mediterranean countries to guarantee the former ties, colonial ties, the French, Italy, the Italian other half with North Africa. But there was practically no discussion about security and no discussion about foreign policy. So gradually, while we realize ourselves that we are becoming a kind of superpower, at least in economic trends, at least in trade, and we make a big success. And the people and the outside world started to look to Europe as a absolutely success of an integration process. But the leaders at this time, well, yes, of course, they have some bilateral talk with the United States because we were under Pax Americana. Well, there was still the Soviet Union at this period, but it was Europe didn't play a big role except some member states like Germany that started the Eastern policy. But as a union, as a community, foreign policy was not a real issue. And maybe that was a good choice, because what the main leaders of this European community was to, well, give answer to the concern of the people, to live better, to have better social protection, but they were not complaining about being a big leader or second leader or superpower. They were interested in their own affairs. So going from this momentum to today's world, how much the whole international community had changed and how much European Union have to change the relationship. So everybody now asks and reflect why Europe is not or becomes a real global actor in the world. Why European Union is not a part of the new G2 and we are not part of a kind of G3. Well, maybe because now, in order to assure our economic development, our social cohesion, our welfare state, without a common foreign European policy, we will not be able to guarantee the growth, the development, the social achievement of European Union. Because we want to grow, we have to take into account energy. President Zapatero has proposed today in the Parliament, why do we don't have an energetic European market? Why we have to maintain this dependency on energy towards a third parties? So energy, that is an outside issue, could be much better related, included in the foreign policy. We, of course, use a single voice, a stronger European foreign policy. But if we talk about our security, people's security, if we are in this unsecure world with terrorism and other attacks or threats, also it could affect the development, economic and social and political development of European Union. Or if we talk about immigration, why the people want to immigrate from Sub-Saharan Africa? Because they have this economic disaster situation and the fight against poverty. There is no a clear policy of European Union towards the developing world. And I could continue with this example, how the foreign policy issue affect directly to the future well-being of the European Union. So the question to be a global actor is not just a question of prestige, it's a question of survival of our model, of a welfare state that everybody envy, a survival of our defense of European interests. Because we have to develop, in order to have a foreign policy, a European foreign policy, to identify what we can say, a European interest. Of course, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, UK, they have their own national interests. And more probably will continue to have national interests. But still till now, and the summit of Copenhagen has demonstrated, there has not been a clear identification of EU foreign interest. And that is what we have to include in the so-called new common and foreign security policy. So that was quite obvious before the Lisbon Treaty was ratified. That was the reason during many years all people who were quite ambitious in their dreams about the future of Europe work for having a different framework, a different institution. And after, well, the unfortunate result of the constitutional treaty, and that we have to introduce some modification, we finally get Lisbon Treaty ratified. And now it's been implemented. So we have now a new institution, We have now new personalities